I'll be making dinner soon. So we're just kind of, me and the dog are just kind of, he's right here, hanging out, and all is well. I've got, let's see, I'm going to add, I can't, can I? Can I? Shit. Okay, well, I thought I could add the fundraiser to this, but I can't. Um, anyway, there's a link in the description of the fundraiser if you want to give a little bit to help me put my studio together. I'd most appreciate it. Hey GM, how you doing today? So yesterday, I got two different versions. Well, they're not. It's the same trailer, but from different angles. From Indiana Jones 5, and like I said, it's mind-blowingly awesome. Hey Cross, how you doing? It's mind-blowingly awesome. Okay, this is gonna be a good movie, and I'm starting to agree with Cameron about with his speculation that Chapek basically told them to reshoot a lot of the stuff. The reshoots were going on. Harrison Ford gets hurt, I think conveniently. I think he slow rolled it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I really find it hard to believe a guy his age is riding around on an Italian racing bike all over the cobblestone streets of Mayfair in London. I walked on those streets in high heels, and they're not easy. So, and I've hurt my shoulder myself. So if he was out there doing that, then I don't think it was as bad as people were saying. You've got the aegis out there, and of course they go into other chats and try to defend themselves because they think they're cool, and really they're just shitty human beings. Okay, but I think the injury basically gave James Mangold and company enough time to get away from whatever bullshit was being planned. Okay. So anyway, that's kind of exciting. And I mean, look, John Rhys Davies is in it. Oh, I know he is, GM. I totally agree. That's the thing they can't stand. Like, when Matthew Kadish was out there causing trouble with James Mangold, and getting all these great nicknames and everything, he couldn't do these movies. He's not physically capable of making these movies. He's in his 40s, and he's attacking Harrison Ford for being 79 at the time and now 80 years old. Okay, look, Harrison Ford could break most 40-year-olds between his thumb and forefinger. I mean, there was that behind the scenes deleted scene where he punches. Oh, who is the star of Blade Runner 2049? I can see his face. I can't stand the actor. But there's a part where he punches him and he knocked him on his ass. I mean, he was reeling backwards going, and Ford's like, oh my God. I mean, he connected. It was basically Matthew Kadish and a bunch of these people who didn't make it in Hollywood. So Ryan Gosling. Okay, thank you. Why can't I remember that? Am I really losing my mind? So yeah, Harrison Ford knocked him on his ass. I mean, it was. So I'm looking at people going, really? The guy is going to be in Taylor Sheridan's 1923, and I've seen BTS of that, and he's riding horses and doing all kinds of stuff. And while it's probably not going to be as physically daunting as playing Indy, it's still pretty physically daunting. Oh yeah, The Notebook. literally one of the most boring, worthless movies ever made. Anyway, but I wanted to talk about what I saw in the trailer. It opens up with you've got Indy, and he's teaching probably, I would say, in New York City. It's not London, and or something like that, because there's a ticker tape parade for the Apollo astronauts, and that's where one of the big chase scenes happens. He's on horseback, and he's being chased by, God knows who, the KGB, the Nazis, and probably the CIA. Anyway, but it's somewhere in the United States. And you hear Salas say, I miss the desert. Then he says, I miss the sea. And they show like a scene where they're underwater. I mean, there's exploring some ruins underwater. And in the Mediterranean, there are a lot of things that ended up underwater, like the Library of Alexandria, the lighthouse, I think. In fact, there's a temple or two underwater, the Colossus of Rhodes. All these things got swallowed up by the Mediterranean, one way or another. Santorini's volcano blew, or there was a, really bad earthquake. Very volatile tectonics going on there. So they show that. And then they show Indy turning off a light in what looks like to be like a research lab or a storage room. Like if you go to any museum, you could be at the New York Metropolitan Museum of Art, Natural History Museum, whatever. And if you go into the back, there will be places where they have things that are priceless, like on shelves. Remember in Raiders or Last Crusade, he goes into his office and it's a desk surrounded by dusty shit and shelves packed high with dusty shit. That's what those look like. Okay. So he turns off the light in there and he's leaving. And he says something like, it's, we're a little too old for that or something like that. And Sala says, maybe it's time for one more. And it's John Rhys Davies. You don't hear his voice. It's him. Okay. So it's Sala going to be an internet. Well, there he is. And then you get into the stuff. They don't show Phoebe Waller-Bridge except once. Indy is a young man running on top of a train, being captured by the Nazis. And what the thumbnail I used for yesterday's looks to me like what they did was they used what he looked like in Hanover Street and hi Kojak and Force 10 from Navarone. If you've ever seen these movies, see them. They're both, one is a very highly romantic movie that got panned, but I like it, Hanover Street. The other is basically kind of in the same sort of World War II kind of motif as A Bridge Too Far, The Longest Day, Tora, Tora, Tora. It's a little bit kind of like that. Late 70s kind of thing going on. And he plays a guy, a colonel, and I'm looking at him going, you're a little young to be a colonel, but okay. But when you look at that thumbnail I dropped for you guys, and you see it, it looks like Force 10 from Navarone. So he is obviously dressed in German Wehrmacht or maybe SS garb to get into someplace. And they pull the hood off his head. And then, you see that, looks like golf carts. They're going down. Now, I remember when they filmed this, because this was literally filmed in Morocco, as I was watching them go from place to place, go from location to location. So this was actually filmed in Morocco on location. They filmed part of it there, and then they went back to Cefalù in Sicily. And I think because of what people said, there were guys in Roman military, Roman, like BC times, garb, but they were guys in Greek armor, hoplite armor. This is what I think. I think it's going to have something to do with something the Greeks and the Romans were fighting over. And I'm going to tell you something. Sicily, that island, has been Greek. It has been Moorish. It has been Roman. The Vikings helped liberate it from the Moors. Okay, so there's a lot of different influences there. And the Romans and the Greeks fought all over Italy, all over the place. In fact, I'm going to tell you a little story. There is a phrase called Pyrrhic victory, where you see a bunch of wins, but the person who's winning never wins the war. There was a Greek general named Pyrrhus who fought the Romans everywhere. But he never beat them, never won the war. That's where Pyrrhic victory comes from. Okay? So if you ever hear me talk about Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi or the Clintons, and I use the term Pyrrhic victory, you know where that came from. Okay? And it's kind of a very astute observation, I think, with American politics. Because, they can make something happen and then the next administration can, cut the balls off. And then the next one can reattach them. That's a Pyrrhic victory. There's no defining moment. So I think what's going to happen is I do think there's going to be time travel. I do think there's going to be something where they witness a fight between the Roman legions, and the Greeks. Okay, so it's gonna be interesting, very interesting. I kind of can't wait because this is gonna be an all-encompassing thing when it comes to history for everybody, because you're going to have the Nazis. You'll probably have Cold War KGB agents, the CIA, played by Boyd Holbrook, and you'll probably see Romans before Christ. This is Republic times. They didn't fight. The Greeks were already submitted to Rome when when Julius Caesar was named dictator of Rome. Okay, that's what you're probably going to see. I don't know what it has to do with time travel. There was a rumor about a device that the Germans had called Die Glocke, which, put a 1 in the chat if you know what a Glock is. All right, it's a gun. All right, it's a semi-automatic pistol made in Austria, Glock. This thing is D-I-E, not die, D, which is a feminine, pro, which is like the feminine of der, D, and das. Der is masculine, das is neutral, and Glocke is Glocke. Now, I think probably means bell, but apparently they call this thing that, Die Glocke. Okay, so there's something going on here. And what I think is the runaway Nazis, and one of them I think may or may not be a rogue German scientist from back in the 1940s, and that's who I think Mads Mikkelsen is playing. I do think we're going to see the KGB because have yet to see Thomas Crestman anywhere, unless he was the one person we saw that I didn't know who it was. But I do think the KGB would want it. All right, and of course, the CIA wants it, and I think that basically what's going to happen is Indy gets talked into looking for it. There's a behind the scenes. You remember the pictures? Harrison Ford. You've got Toby Jones sitting in the grass. I think Toby Jones is playing Phoebe Waller-Bridge's dad, and he's supposed to be Helena's godfather. Indy is. So there's a kind of a relationship there, which doesn't mean a whole lot, but we'll go on for that. So you've got then the parade chase, and there's a beautiful scene in slow motion. Harrison on this horse, we'll assume it's a cop's horse, and it rears up on its hind legs. And the ticker tape, red, white, blue ticker tape, is all around. It's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful. And then you've got him being chased by Boyd Holbrook. And I think the huge guy, when they were showing behind the scenes shots, there's a huge guy looking down at him like this, and the stuntman took a thing and hit him with it, and he didn't do anything. I think that guy's probably a Nazi. He could be a KGB agent. I don't know. I don't see how you could do a movie without bringing in the Cold War. A movie about the space program, or that it involves that, without bringing in the KGB and the Russians. Okay, just can't. So I think they're involved. Indy gets chased into the subway on the horse. Okay, and it wasn't him riding, because they filmed, I think, a lot of that. Maybe it was. But they filmed quite a bit of it with his double. And the guy who doubled him in The Force Awakens is doubling for him again in this. And there's not really a whole lot they have to do with this guy. Well, I think Nazis chasing him, and chasing him, the KGB chasing him, the CIA chasing him. Probably like, we just want to help. Get away from me. So it just sounds, I mean, this is just theorizing from what you can pick up in the thing. But there's a scene where there's like, how can I describe it? It's like hyperspace, what they have it looking like now. And you see a German officer as it's, as silhouetted in the light, and you've got Indy and Helena opposite. They're both, it's from their point of view. That, and there's a point where he picks up his hat, and you hear the music, da 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 da, and then there's another scene where I think it's Boyd Holbrook shoots and everybody gets down, and there's another one where Indy uses his whip and everybody pulls their guns on him. They really need to drop a trailer, but you guys, it is absolutely awesome, and I'm excited for it. I really, this show, I didn't believe any of the rumors to begin with, because Harrison Ford, I'm going to say this again, I said it once, I'll say it again. I think Harrison Ford basically slow-rolled his injury and then went to Chapek. That's how the rumors got to the Daily Mail. And that's why now you see nothing in Kathy Kennedy's future at Lucasfilm. That's why, I mean, I'll tell you something. It would not surprise me that we find out, hey, Planet Musk blog, they're not saying. And James Mangold is being kind of a dick about it, blocking people, etc. It's like, look, dude, we just want a trailer. You don't have to be a prick, okay? What's the point? You know? But I don't know, probably in a couple months. I would say maybe even sooner. I would say when Black Adam premieres. When is that premiering? Like in November? I would say probably around then. Because Christmas season will start and the Christmas movies, I would like a teaser. I mean, there there are a lot of things in what I saw that you could put together and turn it into a teaser. Which would be really, I think so. I think Mike, that's what happened. But I'm gonna say something. The moment that shit went public, like because we don't know if Mary. I think that Karen Black, who was in London last summer, is going to be in it. Or Karen Allen. Sorry, Karen Black is dead. Karen Allen's probably going to be in it. As far as Mutt, hey, you ask you how many people know the story about why Shia LaBeouf is no longer welcome on an Indiana Jones cast. Does anybody know? Can you put a one in the chat if you don't know? A two if you do. Okay. Anyway, but Karen Allen is definitely going to be in it. She was telling people she didn't know if she was going to be in it, and but being very coy. Shia not only badmouthed the production of Indy 5, he basically mocked Steven Spielberg. Harrison Ford basically said he needs to shut his fucking mouth, literally. Drop the F-bomb. And if you piss him off, that's it. Okay, and Shia, thank God, has kind of figured out life since he came home. And a fucking idiot. Yeah, he did. He called him a fucking idiot. And which is all good. Shia, after playing Padre Pio, who's one of my favorite saints, came home to the Catholic Church. But what I think happened with Kathy is that they set it up so those rumors went to the Daily Mail. Then, unbeknownst to the public, she lost the Children of Blood and Bone. The Acolyte, the only person talking about the Acolyte, saying it's going to happen is Leslie Headland. Disney won't announce anything officially. Lucasfilm hasn't, and in fact, when Lucasfilm was asked, they declined to comment. Okay, Kathy Kennedy has nothing going on at Lucasfilm but Indy 5. And as Matt Bellany said, there are no movies. It is a dormant, dead franchise right now, Star Wars is. Okay, and they're not even talking about them. I mean, no one is saying anything. Okay, you still have bots on Twitter begging for Soilo 2, which will never happen. I mean, look, if you want to make Bob Chapek happy, figure a way to save a penny. If you want to piss him off, waste his money, waste money, waste Disney's money. Okay, and guess what? Soilo 2 would waste Disney's money, but you'll never get Raylos and SJWs and people who have to have pronouns in their fucking bios to understand that. Okay, but So I think Harrison Ford probably, uh, sadly for him, had to do what he had to do to save Indy 5. Okay. And I think that Kathy Kennedy, I think there had to have been a heart to heart talk with her. Because I don't think they have any bad feelings. Now, at Star Wars Celebration, he got kind of mad at her because she interrupted him. But at D23, she was a Chinese vase. She just sat there like this. It's his movie, not hers. Okay, that's the thing we got to remember. All right. So I think that this is her swan song too. I want to talk a little bit about that. After Matt Bellamy's public excoriation and throttling of her on his podcast, which anybody can listen to, I'm pretty sure that we're going to get an announcement that she's leaving after Indy 5. And here's the reason why I disagree with WDW Pro on this. Because Lucasfilm needs to know the next step. Okay, you can't just sit there and trot along, barely treading water with Andor, which I'll get into, and the hopes that Ahsoka's good. Mando 5 or Mando 3, Tales of the Jedi, which I can't wait to see, and Bad Batch. Okay, you can't do that. You have to have a movie being developed in the pipeline. And right now, because of the shit balls that they pitched out there, they don't. And when I look at this, I look at a studio with either no direction or behind the scenes a lot of changes coming. And I don't see how there can be a smooth transition without her announcing her hard date to leave publicly, so the next person who already is there, they're already been set there, and it's not somebody she picked out. Okay, Bob Chapek isn't stupid. All right, so they can start the transition from her to them. You know, and that's why I think there's going to be an announcement probably later in October. And with Matt Bellany going off on her the way he did, and basically saying all of her decisions were shitty. I didn't say it, he did. Okay, I'm just like, you know, it to me it just looks like it's going to be soon. And it's not that she's leaving, is that she will announce her hard date to leave. And I don't see why that would be such a bad thing if you think about it. Okay. Anyway, but we'll have to see. Now let's talk about Andor. If you ignore Cassian Andor and skip Eltani, you might actually have kind of an interesting Star Wars story. The fact that they actually had sheep, animals that I've actually seen up close, those kinds of sheep, in that part of the show was so off-putting, so distracting. First, and I mean it, I expected to see William Wallace and a bunch of his Highlanders come running down the hill saying if they needed help. I'm not kidding. I expected to hear bagpipers. I'm not kidding. I'm watching this going, this isn't Star Wars. What is so hard? Why? First off, I'm going to ask several YouTubers that think it's great. Mr. H Reviews, Nate, I love you. But why do you think the production values are so great? They're not. Let's go to Coruscant, where it's actually interesting. You've got Stellan Skarsgård as Luthen Ravel, who's a very cool character, and Mon Mothma. And you get there, and Coruscant is several shades of gray. Now, maybe they're just trying to show how dull and boring it got after the Emperor took over. But to me, the high, look, everybody knows what Coruscant is. It's a city planet. And layer upon layer upon layer upon layer is set on top of each other. So the lowest part that no one really has ever really been to is supposed to be home of things that'll eat you. Okay, they're like weird, like beings that live down there. But we've seen the lower levels of Coruscant chasing, let's see, Anakin Skywalker chasing Ventress around when Ahsoka was being accused of being a terrorist, and so we kind of know what the lower levels look like. The highest level we know from Revenge of the Sith, from the prequel trilogy, and from Attack of the Clones, or from the Clone Wars, and it should be vibrant. You should see the sun. You should have, plants, trees growing in planters. Everything should be a kind of an aesthetic that pleases rich people. Let me explain why. The Emperor's cadre are probably very wealthy people. Very wealthy people like pretty things, and they don't like to see things change too much. Okay? So very wealthy people wouldn't want drab, boring, colorless East Berlin, Germany. And trust, I've worked on the eastern side of Berlin in '95 before they actually really started integrating it back into the city. And if you're in the West, you were in a pretty cool place. Go to the East, and it was like you walked into a black and white TV show. I'm not kidding. And I think for the Emperor to keep people, he would want Coruscant to have its opera, to have its theaters, to have its clubs, to have its restaurants, to have its museums, okay? All of that, okay? All of it. What I saw was a drab, boring place. A scary place. I saw East Berlin. I did not see what I would think George Lucas would have thought of what Coruscant looked like when the Emperor took over, okay? And it would be very difficult for him in such a short time to turn it from this switched on cultural mecca to this kind of almost barbed wire covered, I guess it works with the fact that when Mon Mothma says there are more spies in the Senate every day, la-di-da, but I don't know. Because Luthen Rawl, let's talk about what we saw in the shop. We saw Sith Stalker armor. We saw phrases from a temple. Now people are like, that's from the Lothal Temple. The Lothal Temple hadn't been destroyed yet. Okay, so it's not. Calm down. But these phrases show the world between worlds. Okay, there is Mandalorian armor. Okay, there is a Keldar breath mask, like what Plo Koon wore. And when Rawl takes Mon Mothma to the back to actually have a conversation with her, over this shoulder Hey Joe, you see a Jedi holocron and a Sith holocron. Now, if the Emperor prescribed all that and said you can't do that, look at that, the Jedi are dead, we don't talk about them anymore. Why would that be allowed? Why? Because wealthy people are weird and they're interested in stuff like that. Okay? As Mon Mothma's driver slash Imperial spy on her said, there's nothing in this place I can afford. Okay, this is a antique store that caters to the very, 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 very wealthy. And the connection to the rest, to the Filoni verse, is very strong. To the Filoni Favreau verse is strong. Okay, this is a good thing. All right. You know, and I really, I mean, just thinking about Eldhani and just the talkie. Boring. I don't care. Kind of, you know, what, all right. I know he compared Mon Mothma to Nancy Pelosi. I'm like, you didn't say that, did you? Do you want people to watch this or not? I mean, I met Nancy Pelosi. I've had her standing 3 feet away from me and giving me the look like, who the hell are you? And me looking at, sneering at her. And Tom DeLay sitting there laughing at me. Well, what did he say about the fandom? See, if he had to connect the Mandoverse to what he was doing, this proves to me that Favreau was the person saying, look, Tony Gilroy, and he's got 2 brothers working with him on this too. Is a very sheltered human being. But everybody in Hollywood. Oh yeah, he said that. Everybody in Hollywood is very, very, very sheltered. Okay. And it is very, very disgusting to me because they say things and act like everybody in the world agrees with them. And it's like, wait a second, hold it. No, this is not how it goes. It's very weird to me that they're like that. What else? There's really nothing else to. Oh yeah, my fundraiser. I've gotten some donations. I would like more. There's a link. Hey Maze, how you doing? Oh yeah, I absolutely agree on that one. Mazeres, who's SB right now, brought up something that I absolutely agree with him. Like, I'm gonna probably be the only person in the fandom who's gonna tell you that I think Indy 5 is gonna be good. But I have the trailer. I've seen the trailer, okay? And I don't look at rumors out there as something that are gospel truth, especially if, you know, this is so fucking, I mean, come on. You can't go from saying last summer, this is what's happening, then that rumor gets to the Daily Mail, and it's, hey David, it's out there. Then you see Kennedy losing every one of her Star Wars shows. Then going back and saying, using the same rumors, acting like you didn't say anything last summer. acting like nothing happened between last October and now to change things. You know, it's like, you can't. Okay, so when I see people forgetting history or rewriting history, it pisses me off. It's like, oh God, the woman who directed the last Charlie's Angels movie, and basically back in the time, back when it came out, she was saying it was a feminist movie, and if men don't see it, they're misogynist, blah blah blah. Now she's saying, oh, you know, it was too bad it was marketed just to girls. That's why it failed. I'm like, do you realize that you had a hand in that? Elizabeth Banks. That's who that was. Yep, Elizabeth Banks. But we have people like that in the Phantom Menace. All right. We have people like that, and trust me, if they don't rewrite their own history, they're going to push the goalpost back. Oh, Kennedy's gone, but the goalpost was here, now it's back over here. Okay? It's a business decision. It does not have anything to do with reality. Okay? And when you've made, a lot of these guys make a living on YouTube, when you make a living bullshitting. All right, and there are levels of bullshitting. Like right now, I could say I'm bullshitting with you guys, and we're just shooting the shit. We're just talking. But then there's a level of bullshitting where someone is basically gaslighting you to believe something that isn't necessarily true. Oh yeah, just Mike. He did. And I think a lot of that will, a lot of the rumors that Doomcock talked about are not going to happen, because I do believe Cameron said it, that Bob Chapek said we're not doing this. But I also think that Harrison Ford went to him and said, no, okay. He's not going to walk away from the movie. He's going to make them make the movie he wants to make. And if you watched him at D23, he was the one doing the talking. Again, Kathy Kennedy was a Chinese vase, just like she was a Chinese vase when Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni came out. All right, Favreau's the boss for Star Wars. And I'm going to say this. I would think that he's probably going to be the boss at Lucasfilm. And what I really think, again, I'm going to go back to what I've been saying. It is not that she's leaving at the end of October. Her 10-year anniversary is October 31st. And I think that that would be the perfect time for her to make an announcement that when Indy 5 comes out, she's retiring, and whoever is, they're already working at Lucasfilm, is there to take over. Okay. I think that's the only way it can work. And I'm like, this is going to be great. I mean, if you think about it, it's going to be great. And it would ease the transition from one to the other, make it a lot easier. What time is it? Okay, it's 4:02. So I gotta start making dinner. And I gotta get everything prepped and ready. I hope that meat is thawed. Anyway, I wanted to talk to you guys about this stuff. The Indy 5 trailer looks great. I gave Andor episode 4 a 3. And the reason why I got a 3 is because if Al-Thani had actually been interesting, it would have been cool. But the sheep took me right out of it. Yeah, what do you wrenches, can you put the donation link is in the description. It's in the comments. It's in the description. It's not in the chat. I couldn't do it myself. So if somebody could do that real quick, that'd be great. So anyway, it's a beautiful day. Very windy. Went out and got my pumpkins yesterday, so they're here. Thanks, Mike. And I'm just getting ready for fall. And I'll tell you something. The day that fall started, it started. It went from high of 85 and hot and shitty out. The next day, north wind, blue skies, clouds going across the sky looking completely not like summer clouds. And it was chilly in the morning. And it was rainy then. And then when the rain was gone, then it was chilly again. And it was fall. It went, that was it, like that. But anyway, pray for the people in Florida. I'm really glad we don't have a house down there. We used to live in Tampa when Rudy was at SOCOM, and I'm really glad we don't live there anymore. Not that Tampa got hit that hard and we were really far inland, but still. We had these big, beautiful live oak trees in our front yard. And I imagine that at least one of them came down because they were old. I mean, they were venerable old trees. But I know for a fact that Sanibel Island took a brunt of the storm surge. And that's gone. That's been wrecked. And my oldest sister, used to have a house there. She may still have, I don't know. And it's probably gone. The bridge going from Fort Myers to Sanibel is destroyed. It's like, I have friends who live in Key West and a gay couple, and they were telling me that they were pretty much spared. A lot of shit in the yard. They got to clean the pool. But they fared pretty well. But, it just depends on what part of Florida you were living on, what part of this island you were on. Okay. But anyway, I got to go because I got to start this chicken. So you guys be good, behave, be safe. And I will talk to you all around the galaxy the next time, unless some big news happens. See you guys later. See you around the galaxy. And thank you for putting the donation page. I really do appreciate the help. It's one of those things where I want to do this myself. I don't want to ask my husband. This is why I'm doing this. I wouldn't be asking otherwise. I don't need it. But it would be nice to get out of the kitchen and actually have a studio with the microphone, and be able to do more. Anyway, this is Steph. I'll see you around the galaxy.